In the news, the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series heads to the Desert Mile of Phoenix, Arizona. With 3 races to go, the top teams are really doing their homework to stay ahead of the class. The points battle is on fire, with a mere 122 points separating the top 4 spots. Carl Edwards, Ted Musgrave, Bobby Hamilton, and Dennis Setzer all have a shot at the championship. Setzer made up a lot of ground at Martinsville by erasing a 79-point deficit held by Dodge driver Bobby Hamilton. But Bobby is hot on his heels and ready for the chase. As another season winds down, all of the teams are hustling to gain any last-minute advantage.
Welcome back to the Arizona Desert, the Phoenix International Raceway for race number 23 for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. Speed Channel's coverage of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series pre-race show is presented by Craftsman. The Ford point standings. This is the closest points race in the history of the Truck Series. 8 drivers are mathematically still in the hunt, but realistically, it's down to just 4. Let's go down trackside to Wendy Norris.
Dennis Setzer is our new points leader. He only leads by 1 point after a second-place finish in Martinsville. The problem for Dennis Setzer today, he qualified 27th. He has a lot of track position to gain. I talked to his crew chief, Danny Gill, and he said you could probably see Dennis Setzer make 2 pit stops today in order to gain that track position, and that first pit stop could be 2 tires. Ray?
Well, Wendy, I think pit stops are certainly going to be a big part of today, and that's why these guys right here, part of the Square D crew, are going to be a big part of Bobby Hamilton. Can he win here at Phoenix? Of course. He's done it in the Nextel Cup Series, but he finished 5th here a year ago. Is that good enough to win a championship? Maybe not, but in our upcoming races at Darlington and Homestead, Bobby Hamilton is the man. So today is where the pressure is on these guys. Can they get it done? Certainly. He's qualified 8th, and Setzer's all the way back in the pack. It's going to be fun to watch to see if Bobby can stay up there and how long it takes Dennis to get from there to him. Guys?
As Ray mentioned, Dennis Setzer starts in the 27th position. He's our points leader by 1 over Bobby Hamilton. How big of a deficit is that for him to overcome today?
Well, it is, but as Wendy mentioned, he's going to do some pit strategy along with crew chief Danny Gill. Danny's probably going to stop anytime after lap 25, make his first pit stop, and then get back in sync with the rest of the guys. Well,
we're going to move right forward, getting this race underway. Let's go trackside for today's pre-race activities. Spectacular crowd on hand, probably one of the largest ever to witness a Truck Series race at Phoenix International Raceway. We just heard the command. The engines are started. The drivers are already in their trucks. Speed check. Welcome to the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series Chevy Silverado 150 on Speed Channel. Truck's about to roll out onto the track. Let's look at the Domino's starting grid. Jack Sprague claiming his 26th pole in his career. That is a NASCAR record for the Craftsman Truck Series. Carl Edwards currently 4th in the points, starts on the inside of row 2.
Got 2-time winner Ron Hornaday back. First race this year in the Truck Series, starts outside row 3.
There's Todd Bodine, Bill. I'm Michael, by the way.
Hey, Michael, how are you?
I made it up here. I just got done qualifying the old Napa
Welcome
Chevy.
to the booth.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to point out, Rudeman had a really strong truck and happy hour. He's happy with it, along with Shane Mill. Talked to both those cats and feel like they're going to be strong, but I think you hit on it. Ron Hornaday will be the guy to watch today, won't he?
Sure will. Always is here at Phoenix.
Michael, you've been fairly busy today, and your day doesn't end after this race either.
No, I'm going to do trackside on speed, and then I might just hang around and see if anybody wants me to do anything else, just so I can make a day of it. You notice here the starting line is brought to you by Domino's Pizza, and if I finished in the top 10 in this race today, they would bring you $5 off your pizza, but I'm not racing.
Me?
You?
Anybody.
These cats missed the field, and they had to go home. Good field here of trucks, and obviously it's going to be a great race. These trucks are perfect for Phoenix. This is basically where they started. First super speedway race, wasn't it, Phil?
The first race ever in the history of the series was right here at Phoenix, and Mike Skinner, who's in this field, won that race.
You mentioned a perfect track. Let's take a look at the Craftsman track description for Phoenix International Raceway.
Now, like I said, I was just out on this racetrack. Turn 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, while they look relatively similar, are distinctively different. You want to get your truck to be right down on the bottom of the track in 1 and 2. I think that's where you'll see the good trucks. They might float up a little bit in 3 and 4, but there's definitely 2 distinct, maybe even 3 grooves. You can swing wide in these corners and start making ground if somebody's holding you up on the bottom.
You see 36 trucks starting this field, 150 laps, 150 miles, purse just under $500,000, and the pit window 80 to 90 laps.
Randy Kaiser in the pace truck, and the Chevy Silverado pace truck leads the field out onto the track. We're going to be getting underway momentarily. Welcome back to Phoenix, Arizona, the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series 23rd race of the season. It's a Chevy Silverado 150. Trucks are out warming the tires up, getting ready to get this race underway. We're going to be riding along with a few different drivers. Robert Huffman will start in the 23rd position in his number 12 Toyota.
P.J. Jones is going to drive the Team ASC CarQuest Dodge. He finished 14th in that truck at Fontana a few races ago.
And this is the truck that I drove over in Charlotte, led the most laps over there, had a real strong run. Ron Hornaday is going to start 6th in this truck. That's P.J. Jones you see there. But there's Hornaday working the steering wheel in that big and rich Chevy Silverado. No wonder you messed that up a minute ago. It's hard to say.
This is David Starr in the Spears Manufacturing Chevy Silverado. They'll start 5th.
Outside pole for Kenny Schrader in a Federated Auto Parts Chevrolet. Great starting spot for Kenny Schrader. Awfully good at this racetrack here at Phoenix. He's driven every kind of vehicle you can drive here at Phoenix, and he's won in most of them.
Now, that's a cat right there that knows Phoenix racetrack. And it's good to see him up front. That's his team. He's worked real hard to have that team become as competitive as it's been. We saw him get the pole over at Bristol, and now on the outside pole here looking for a win. Sorry, Rick.
So that's okay. We're riding along on the Chevy Silverado pace truck, looking back at our pole sitter, and Jack Sprague has an opportunity to win $28,000 from his team if he's able to win this race. The Craftsman win from the pole award.
We're coming to the green.
Lights are out in the pace truck. Jack Sprague will set the pace as Randy Kaiser will pull the pace truck down on pit road, this time coming out of turn 4. Side by side, 18 rows back, everyone on their feet for the start. The Chevy Silverado 150.
Good start by Jack Sprague. Got up through the gears quick. Was able to pull up and get a good angle down in that corner. You see him with a couple truck length lead right now over Ken Schrader, and a side-by-side battle for second with Carl Edwards.
A unique configuration of this track. The dogleg is actually on the back stretch, whereas normally if you say a tri-oval, you would think it would be on the front stretch that would provide the start-finish line.
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun to race here at Phoenix. They moved that second turn wall back about 4 or 5 feet a couple of years back, Bill. And I know you raced here when that thing stuck over to the left. Very difficult to exit turn 2 with the track in its old configuration. Now they've loosened that exit up off the corner, and you see a lot better racing here at Phoenix because of it.
Got a great side-by-side battle. David Starr on the inside, the Spears Manufacturing Chevrolet. There's Kenny Schrader on the outside. You mentioned 2 groups here, 2 distinct groups. You see Kenny able to hang in it pretty well on the outside. Ted Musgrave, Michael, you got to watch him. He was the fastest truck in happy hour. Everyone in the garage here, he said Ted Musgrave is the cat to beat.
Side by side, the Axiom Chevrolets of Dennis Setzer and Ron Hornaday. They're actually teammates today. That's the good wrench number 6 of Matt Crafton looking on the inside of Ron Hornaday.
See Matt fighting that wheel. It looks like he gets awfully close to Hornaday there.
Yeah, laid up in him a little bit. Him and Ronnie are buddies. Ronnie won't like much of that, though. That buddy stuff won't last long. You keep running into me, you'll tell him.
Ray, what's going on with Hornaday?
Well, I talked to him before the race started, and I said, are you racing to win today? He said, absolutely. You know how good this 47 truck has been this year? I will definitely race to win. I said, what happens if Dennis Setzer gets up there to race with you? He said, if we're racing for the win, I go for it. If we're racing for 5th, I give that position to Dennis Setzer because the championship's more important.
We saw a couple teammates have some problems at the end of the race up in Martinsville. Roger Penske's cars of Ryan Newman and Rusty Wallace got together late in the race, and they just announced this week that Rusty got fined 10 grand for running over Ryan after the race. So you really have to tiptoe around your teammates no matter what the situation is.
Yeah, Ron Hornaday does not want to mess up Dennis Setzer, but hey, Ron Hornaday, as he said, he's here to win this race. He's not going to allow somebody else to win this race. It's very critical for him to win this race because he's coming back full time, you know, in the Truck Series next year.
One guy who would really like to get out in front and lead at least one lap is Carl Edwards, who's currently second. He is in this race for the championship, albeit 122 points out of the top spot, but every point is counting for Carl Edwards.
And he's right on Dennis Setzer, eating him up coming off the corner field. Check him out, getting lower in turn 4, looking underneath of him and trying to get a run off the turn.
It looked like a great corner the last time he was through 1 and 2. He really had a nice angle. He got his truck turned a lot quicker than Jack. He wasn't able to quite make the pass, but it looked like a terrific corner.
Now check him out there. We talked about Duke Grooves. I hate to hit this thing over the head, but he slid up high just to check out his truck to see if he needed to go high, could he make it work up there.
Wendy, how's Carl Edwards liking his truck?
He's been pretty happy with his truck so far. Actually, Carl Edwards told me before the race they were talking about points. He said he's well aware how far behind he is. 122 points out of that championship. He said if any of those guys happen to make a mistake today, he is going to capitalize on it. He gained points last week in Martinsville, about 50 points. So Carl Edwards said he is not giving up just yet.
Wendy, you're exactly right. Carl Edwards is 122 points behind, but you've got 2 guys up front, 1 point apart. Dennis Setzer by 1 over Bobby Hamilton. He almost has to have both of those guys to have some problem. If it was one guy, then one guy could have a problem. He'd bring everybody back in this race. But there are 2 guys up there, so Carl Edwards really needs to make something happen. He's got to be up front leading laps, hopefully leading the most laps, along with Ted Musgrave, who has to do the exact same thing.
1 and 2, Jack Sprague and Carl Edwards trying to separate themselves from the pack. We've completed 9 laps of racing from Phoenix International Raceway.
Give you $5 off your pizza. That was the point I was trying to make.
All right. You said today, but
I'm not even racing today. Right. I forgot about that.
You've been in a couple different cars today, though. It seems like you were racing today, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's been a busy day, and it's been a fun day, though. I love this Phoenix track. All the drivers love the Phoenix track because of what you're seeing here, Phil. You have the ability to race side by side. We've talked about it 100 times. I'm not going to mention again, but there's room to run side by side, and plus, you can even creep up higher yet and see a groove that you could run 3 wide if you get the nerve to do so.
That was 15th. Bill Lester took away from Chase Montgomery, and now Chad Chapin falling right behind him and taking over the 16th spot.
A couple former teammates side by side, Mike Skinner and Travis Waffle. They're currently racing for about the 20th position.
Little separation now between Jack Sprague and Carl Edwards. Wendy?
Carl Edwards just reported to crew chief Kevin Cowboy Starlin that there's a vibration on the front. He thinks his front tire is falling apart. Cowboy is assessing it right now on the monitors. They're discussing whether or not they're going to come in. The guys are on their wall. They're waiting to see. They are deciding to come in on this next time around.
Carl Edwards ducking down to the apron. He's going to make a pit stop, which definitely is not a scheduled stop for Carl Edwards.
Now, he might have a flat tire like he's thinking, Phil, but it's also a possibility that maybe those wheels didn't get torqued. We're early in the race, and if there was going to be a problem from a loose wheel, it would be developing right now. Hopefully it's just a flat tire and they can get that thing fixed and back on the road, because if the wheel's loose, it can do some damage to the rotor and to the right front suspension if that's where it's at.
Wendy, what's going on down there?
They are putting 4 tires on Carl Edwards' truck. He was a little tight, but they're not going to make any adjustments. He lets that go down, and he's way. I looked at the front tire so far. It doesn't look like it's flat, but we'll let you know as Cowboy comes off the pit box. He's going to assess the tire.
As we see Jack Sprague go by Carl Edwards, that puts him 1 lap down. Now there's a long way to go in this race, but he's going to have to certainly do some catch-up now. But it didn't look like, if the tire was flat, it certainly wasn't down on the rim. So he didn't have a completely flat tire. But, you know, it may have been a situation, Michael, if they went really down low on air pressure. When these trucks are going so fast early on with low air pressure, sometimes you can damage those tires by going too low.
But it doesn't usually happen that quick, Phil. 18 laps is a little premature to have a low air pressure situation deflect the sidewall of the tire. Makes you wonder what did happen. Maybe we can get a report from the pits there with Cowboy and see what they think developed on the 99 truck.
We'll hear from that when we come back. Jack Sprague continues to dominate at Phoenix International Raceway. He's put almost 3 seconds between himself and Steve Clark. back to Phoenix. Jack Sprague continuing to dominate this race. 4.2 seconds over second place now. Ted Musgrave. Musgrave taking over the second spot from David Starr. And look who's coming as well on the outside, the 62 of Steve Park.
Steve's been awfully good. He's good in practice. Had a great qualifying run. Started in the 4th position. You got Todd Bodine coming too, Michael, as you mentioned. He won two of the last 3 races, and that truck has been good every time it's been on the racetrack. Yeah, the Steve was holding that pack up. There was about 6-7 trucks racing for that second spot, and they've broken it up now. Ted's driven into the second position and began already erasing some of that big lead that Jack had established early in the going.
Side-by-side racing. Todd Bodine on the inside of Steve Park. And normally this view looking through the windshield, you would see the sun glaring in your eyes as they come down the front stretch. Ray, tell us a little bit about the sunlight around here.
Well, Rick, it's a little bit cloudy today, which is good for these drivers, and we're very lucky now we've gone 25 laps without a caution. Here's the problem. We started this race at 3:53. That's when they took the green local time here in Phoenix. The problem is sunset is at 5:34. Now, this race can easily run in that amount of time if we don't have a lot of cautions, but this race has also gone 2 hours and 13 minutes. If that's the case today, we're going to be way past dark when this race is over. And all these drivers are well aware of that. So as you heard Phil say on the open of the show tonight, I think you'll see some early pit stops here because these guys don't want to be thinking about pitting after lap 100.
Ken Schrader was just loose there at Steve Park behind him and got very loose.
Schrader set on the outside of the front row like we documented. He's raced his way back up to the top 5. We saw him sliding back when the race first started, but now he's got that truck in the wind running well.
Kenny Schrader has run multiple laps on this racetrack, probably more than any other driver.
You know, this is one of the races recently that has had a happy hour. You know, we went so many races where they impounded the trucks after qualifying, but they had a happy hour. It was yesterday morning. And so the teams have had really 30 hours to work on these trucks after happy hour. So a lot of the teams have made some changes. Kenny's team may have made some changes. His truck might have been a little bit too free to start with. Now it seems to be coming in for him.
Great race for third. We're riding along with David Starr. Just behind him, Todd Bodine in that number 30 Toyota.
Todd's been real strong in the early going. He's been all over the back of David Starr. Hadn't been able to make the move yet, but you can see Phil lined up behind them. That's all the way back through 10th place. So 3rd to 10th is all right there in one big pack. Ted Musgrave has put a little distance on David Starr, and he's gaining on their leader, Jack Sprague. He was over 4 seconds behind when he took over second place. He's cut a second of that deficit. Now he's just over 3 seconds behind Jack Sprague and continually running the fastest lap on the racetrack. He's really hauling, and we knew that. We saw that in happy hour that he's going to be a tough truck, and now he's gaining on the leader.
Earlier, Carl Edwards came in for an unscheduled stop. Wendy, what happened?
This is the actual tire from Carl Edwards' truck. We're in the Goodyear building right now. You'll see where the silver marks are. That means it was shattering against, it was vibrating against Carl's truck. The wheel did come loose. This is the right front tire. They said they did torque the lug nuts before the start of the race, so they know that's not the problem. So Goodyear is now assessing this wheel to see what the problem is to make sure it doesn't happen again. That'd be interesting to see, Phil, because if they know they torqued those nuts and the wheel came loose, it's going to happen again. You know, you can't think that it wouldn't just happen again. Well, they may with the impact wrench get the wheel tighter than they did with the torque wrench. They only torque these things at about 85 foot-pounds. They probably maybe get them 120 foot-pounds with an air wrench, so it may save them for the rest of this race.
Jack Sprague's lead over Ted Musgrave has dipped to just 2.5 seconds. So Musgrave is reeling in Jack Sprague. The Jack Sprague show in his Chevy Silverado. He's dominated this race. All 35 laps. He's led from the pole. And he goes by the 63 of Chris Wimmer. And we're hearing from NASCAR, they're checking that truck to make sure that some drivers have mentioned fluid coming out of it. So they want to check closely to make sure there's no fluid on the track.
That's the last truck that the 63 was passed, that Jack Sprague passed was the 63. So obviously if he's leaking anything, Jack will have that on his windshield. And he would relay that to his crew chief to tell NASCAR, hey, he's leaking something, you need to get him off the racetrack.
NASCAR has just reported that he is clear of any type of fluids leaking. Sprague now trying to put the 10 of Terry Cook a lap down. Seems like Sprague is on a mission. Sprague in his 12th race here. He's led more than 700 laps at this track. That's more than 500 more than the second place driver, which is Greg Biffle, who's led 195 laps.
Great pass for fourth position. Shane Neal was able to get by David Starr. Shane has been on fire. We saw a couple laps where he had the fastest lap time. He is on the move right now.
It's hard to, you know, we've been running for a third of the race almost now, but it's hard to pick who's the favorite. Jack Sprague got good track position, got a lead. Then we saw Ted begin to close in. Now Todd Bodine and Shane Neal are showing the strengths of their truck. So we'll have to see how track position plays into the outcome of this race and what these guys are able to do to make up the deficit that they've gotten here early in the going.
They've run 39 laps now, Rick and Michael, and so now they know what their trucks are going to do. They're about halfway into a fuel and a tire run right now. So right now, I'm sure a lot of these drivers that are maybe backing up are hollering at their crew chiefs to make some adjustments, where it looks like maybe Ted Musgrave, Todd Bodine may be saying, our truck's perfect.
Well, looky here. I don't like when people say that, but I just did. You can see that Ted has driven right up to Jack. That's what that whole story was about.
Ted Musgrave, very, very fast in happy hour. Now, I want to touch on a point. We talk about running well at the beginning. Jack Sprague running well at the beginning. This new tire compound, we had 16 trucks break the old track record here. And so we're seeing a lot of faster trucks. Are we going to see more long runs for these guys and the tires staying up?
Well, this track is generally hard on tires. You know, you want to get some fresh tires. If the caution come out right now, I guarantee you everybody would pit. So you want to have fresh tires here at Phoenix. They do fall off quite a lot. We saw the fastest laps of the race being right around the 28:20 range, and now they're running up around 29:20. So they've lost a second in just 40 laps. But there's a blown motor going into turn 4.
Caution's out. Caution's out.
Right in front of the leader, you saw Jack Sprague drive by. There's Chase Montgomery, the A-truck. Looks like he might have made some contact either coming off turn number 2 or maybe at the exit of the dogleg in the backstretch.
It looks like he might have blown that right front tire field just as he made the dogleg on the back straightaway and hit the outside retaining wall. There's a mark, on the outside wall.
Big mark right there. They do have the safer barriers here, but that looks like that's a spot that the safer barrier has not been installed yet. It's on around that straightaway towards the corner a little bit.
Did a lot of damage to that truck.
See, the window net's down.
Let's take a look at what took place.
Here they are exiting the dogleg right here. After, Michael, as you said, the right front tire went down. I'm sure he turned the steering wheel, but it did nothing when that right front tire went down.
Well, I just said they would all pit if the caution came out around lap 40.
I would think they will all come. Right now, the pit road is being shown as closed, the flagman, but he's switching the flag now. He's going to turn the green light on. Green flag out. There you are. So I think we'll see everyone hit pit road here.
Andy Houston getting the free pass in the number 13. Your leader does come down pit road. Ted Musgrave will follow him down, as does Todd Bodine.
All your leaders into the pit.
Let's go down to the pits and Wendy.
Shane Neal comes in fourth. As the crew goes to work, he has a makeshift crew going over the wall today. He needed a little bit of wedge to keep the front to stick better, but that's all it looks like they're doing is a wedge adjustment with those 4 tires. Let's check in with Ray.
Well, Wendy, just a little air pressure adjustment for Jack Sprague and his Chevy Silverado. They'll go 1 down on air pressure on the right side tires. These guys go to work, everything routine for Scott Punch and Michael Bird. Jeremy Adams gets that jack up on the left side. You see that right behind him is Ron Hornaday in the pits, and Sprague will be the first one off pit road with Musgrave right behind.
They came out in 1-2, came out 1-2. Good job by those pit crews.
Todd Bodine held on to third. David Starr holding on to fourth. We'll be back with more racing action. Phoenix International Raceway. On Speed Channel, Steve Burns and his cast of characters, and I say that tongue-in-cheek, Jeff Larry and Michael Waltrip. Post trackside live from right here at Phoenix International Raceway, presented by Gladiator Garage Works. Tonight's guests will include Matt Kenseth, Mike Bliss, Ashton Lewis Jr., Chase Montgomery, and winner of this truck race. So tune in to trackside. Wendy?
Travis Quapple came back in after that round of pit stops. It was spitting water out of the cool-down unit. Eric Phillips just wanted to have him come back in and take some tape off. He said he probably put too much tape on there. When he did that, the water temp went down to 225.
First round of pit stops taking place. Our caution comes out as Chase Montgomery makes contact with the back stretch wall. We'll be back with more racing. Welcome back to the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series Chevy Silverado 150. Riding along the pace vehicle. Randy Kaiser piloting the Chevy Silverado pace truck.
We talked about the slung together crew of Shane Mills. Shane Mill came in running third. He's back in ninth now. You can't afford, Rick, to give up that type of track position here at Phoenix. Flat track, hard to pass. You give up all that ground, you can't make it back up. They're coming to the green. She bang, she bang.
Similar problem with Ken Schrader. He came in 5th, came out 14th.
And remember, we talked about overcast day earlier, no sunshine. Well, the sun is out. These drivers are going to have their hands full looking down in turn number 1 with the sun. Driving right into the sun in turn 1 as they make the turn 1 and 2. You see the glare coming off of some of the buildings at the end of turn 1. This is Ken Schrader. Mentioned that he dropped back to 14th. This is the backstretch, and kind of walk us through this, Michael, as far as a lap with Ken Schrader.
Well, we got a battle for the lead right here coming off turn 4. Ted Musgrave right down on the yellow line. Jack got a great start. He had 10 or 15 car lengths on truck lengths on Ted as he exited 2. Ted ate all that up and was able to drive around him.
That truck has been so good, Michael. That is a brand new truck. The last 3 times that team has brought a brand new truck to the racetrack for Ted Musgrave, they've won the race. So this could be 4 times in 2 years with brand new trucks to win the race if they could go on and put this thing together.
Well, did you see that line he ran through 1 and 2, Phil? He was plumb underneath the yellow line exiting turn 2. You want your truck to work well on the bottom. We knew Ted was fast. We saw him gaining on Jack before the caution came out. He picked up right where he left off, got in the lead, and is driving away from him right now.
And he got the lead early enough that he's got enough time here that he possibly could lead the most laps, get that 5 extra bonus points. Gene Needis, crew chief, said, hey, if we can gain 30 points on the leaders, the point leaders this week, I'll be happy. If we go out of here about 60 behind, I'll be tickled to death.
There's nobody better than Ted Musgrave at Darlington, Bill, as we head down there. He's got to feel like he makes some ground here. He's going to make some there.
Michael, Bobby Hamilton's been at Darlington twice in a truck and won both times. Both of those guys have won at Darlington in a truck.
Well, maybe there is somebody better than Ted, though.
He has a pretty good winning percentage.
There's not that many people better than Ted. How's that?
It just so happens that he's in front of the points race right now. Bobby Hamilton took back the points lead from Dennis Setzer. He's got an 8-point lead on Setzer as we run right now. Ted Musgrave has gone from 91 points out of the top spot to just 29 points out of the top spot. So this points race is really tightening up. And look at the glare as they come down the front stretch.
And this is a brand new windshield essentially for P.J. Jones. He took a tear off on that most recent caution flag, so that was as good as the windshield's going to get. That will get worse as time goes on here. A little sandblasting, a little oil, speedy dry. Gets out, hits that windshield up, and it gets harder and harder to see.
And as you try to race down into that first turn side to side with another truck, or perhaps lapping a truck, things can get real tight, and you can misjudge it by an inch and cause a heck of a wreck entering that corner.
Steve Park backed up to 9th position. Let's take a look moments ago.
He and our man JB were battling. Oh, caution.
Just a few moments ago, big time wiggle off turn number 4. Steve got real loose on throttle. Getting a report that something happened to Hank Parker Jr.
There's Steve as we are under caution.
That's what happened to Hank Parker Jr. You can see the damage to the right side of that truck off of turn number 2. He made some contact with the outside wall.
Pull everything away from it.
Wanting to clear out the wheel well. We'll come back and sort everything out for our second caution coming out for Hank Parker Jr. after these messages.
It's International Raceway. You see Steve Park has come to the pit road in his Orleans Dodge. The problem is overheating terrible. 245 degrees on the oil, so they wanted to pull tape off the front. Went ahead and put tires on it also for Park here at lap 57. Now, all of the guys in the garage told me they need to get to lap 74 to 79 before they're ready to make it the rest of the way. So this will not be the last pit stop for Steve Park, but his engine was way too hot.
A lot of damage to the 07. That's Sean Murphy piloting that truck this week. And we'll take a look at how that damage happened.
We're going to be coming off turn number 2. He and Hank Parker Jr. were racing side by side. Going to see him come off turn number 2. He gets up into Hank Parker Jr. He hadn't quite cleared him. That just turned him into the outside wall, but a lot of damage for Hank Jr. also.
Both of those trucks were a lap down and got together. More damage to the 07 than to the 21 of Hank Parkin Jr.
I think Hank came in the pits right after that happened, so he was actually in the pits when the caution came out. So that's why he got put one lap down, because he was in the pits and the leader came out around the racetrack and put him a lap down while he was in the pits, just as the caution was coming out.
You can see him doubling up. The field has got the one to go signal. We'll be getting back to green flag racing here.
Michael, I think they brought the lights back on the pace truck, and they're going to do it one more time.
Everything I say, y'all correct me.
Well, I don't mean to.
I deserve it. I'm wrong.
Right now, points as of now, you see Bobby Hamilton back in front. Only 5 points ahead of Dennis Setzer, but Ted Musgrave has made a tremendous gain. If the race were to end right now, only 32 points behind. Carl Edwards right now, he's still playing catch-up. He's still being shown one lap down, but he's got a good enough truck. About the next caution flag, I think we'll see Carl Edwards get back on the lead lap, and then he needs to really make some move and get by some trucks, get back up in this thing.
Now they're letting them know 1 to go. Tomorrow at 1 p.m. live on Speed Channel, it's NASCAR Nextel Cup Happy Hour. Speed Channel is your exclusive home for NASCAR Nextel Cup qualifying and final practice for the remainder of the season. Tune in tomorrow 1 p.m. Nextel Cup Happy Hour only on Speed Channel. Riding along with the Chevy Pace truck, that's Ted Musgrave on the left side of the double up line as they go down the backstretch. An interesting point of view from the Chevy Silverado bumper. Randy Kaiser pilots that. He'll pull it down to the pit road and let Ted Musgrave bring the field to the green flag for the 3rd time today.
There's Ron Hornaday. He's currently being shown in the 5th position. David Starr right in front of him in 4th.
I think it's going to be interesting to see, guys, if we can get us a 15, 20, 30 lap run here, exactly what shakes out. We saw Ted grab a good lead on that last restart, but he couldn't get away from Jack Sprague and Todd Bodine. He just stabilized right out in front of him.
We got a great start right there. Opened 3 or 4 truck lengths on Jack Sprague. We saw Todd Bodine had a very, very good truck before his pit stop. We'll see right now. He's already up in 3rd. See what he can do with possibly Jack Sprague and maybe even Ted Musgrave.
You can see Carl Edwards there going around the outside of the 38. That gives him the free pass should the caution flag come out now. He is the first truck one lap down.
And he's going to need that if he wants to stay in contention for this championship with just this and 2 races remaining.
Carl Edwards has a great truck. He is being shown as the fastest lap this entire race. Back on lap number 3, a full 0.2 of a second faster than anybody else has run for their fastest lap. So he's got a great truck. It just needs to use his head, stay calm, get that free pass, get back in this thing.
I'm being told that NASCAR has welcomed Ron Hornaday back to the Truck Series by saying, calm down there a little bit, Ron. This is a long enough race that we don't need to be doing anything crazy early on.
Wow, JB got on the inside of Crafton there. They made a little bit of contact. Johnny's going to try to complete that pass. That's the battle for the 6th position. Matt Crafton holds it. Johnny's on the inside. Phil, this is a place, like we saw at Loudon, where once you get on the inside, it's not just a give and deal that you got the pass completed. It's a bit of a task to finish the pass.
See Shane Meal right behind these two. He's probably got...
Knocked an oil line or something off there, Doug.
Yeah, we're getting a report that... The 07 says it's tire smoke, but NASCAR has thrown the caution flag.
That's the break that Carl Edwards needed. That'll put Carl Edwards back on the lead lap.
So with that caution, Carl Edwards is now back on the lead lap. Ted Musgrave continues to lead in Phoenix.
4 races ago, I said Jimmy Johnson is out of this thing. He's in 9th position, 240 or 260 points behind. Wins 3 in a row, pulls within 59 points.
But you see, Phil, we don't have anything to base who's in or who's out on. We haven't seen the chase for the championship develop before. After this year, we'll say, okay, maybe he's not out of the chase for the championship at this point if he can string some victories together. But who wins 3 races in a row in Nextel Cup these days? You don't see that very often. And generally, if you're able to put together a win streak like that, it'll propel you to a championship. We'll see if that's what happens for Jimmy.
Last time that happened, Jeff Gordon in 1998. So it's been 6 years since that's happened before.
Green flag.
Flag flies and we're back underway at Phoenix.
Jack was able to stay with Ted that time. He's only got about a 12-point deficit. We'll see what shakes out here if they can get a little green flag running and see what these trucks are really made of.
And you see Todd Levine, he's closed right in there with them. This is going to be a great battle between these guys as we head toward the finish.
Shane Meal, the 15 truck, all over the back of Matt Kraft in the 6 Goodwrench truck. Remember, Shane had driven up into the top 5 before his first pit stop. A little bit of a slow pit stop and was relegated all the way back to about 9th. Now he's worked his way back up to the 7th position, looking to go more.
Matt Crafton trying to prove himself, find a ride to continue in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. He was somewhat let go. He'll finish out the season, but Ron Hornaday will take over that seat.
He's had a great season. He'd never had a top 5 finish coming into this season, but he's strung together a number of top 5s, top 10s. He's been up in the top 5 of points the entire season, so he's really done a terrific job. But you got a situation when you get a Ron Hornaday, Ray, you got to take it.
Yeah, I agree with that, Phil. No doubt that's what the folks from Chevrolet thought, too. Now, Hornaday just came down pit road on lap 68. They did 4 tires there and just a little wedge adjustment for him. Why did they pit at 68? Well, as crew chief Randy Goss said, I believe the caution may come out here in 8 or 10 more laps, and that'll force everybody else to come to pit road. That gives us the track position we're looking for.
Pretty good strategy right there. A number of other trucks, a number of other trucks pitted too. Mike Skinner, Andy Houston, Steve Park, Carl Edwards came in. As Michael mentioned, Carl Edwards is now back on the lead lap. Terry Cook came in. So a lot of guys, I think, are trying to get in their pit window, and they will get some track position if the caution comes out in a few laps and everybody else comes in.
But if the caution doesn't fly for 20-25 laps, then that move didn't gain them anything. It really didn't cost them anything. Maybe some track position. Maybe they can work back through the front. But definitely a gamble to take at this point. But it didn't appear that the guys that pitted had the truck to win the race with. So they decided to do something different, mix it up a little bit, try to get an advantage through doing things different than the leader.
Great race for 8th here. John Wood has the position. David Rudeman on the inside tries to take it away in the Intian Bearings Toyota.
Looks like he's got a good run on the inside of it. John got around the outside of David on the restart there. Now David's raced back to the inside of John, trying to take that position back. Bobby Hamilton currently leading the points by just 9 over Setzer as they run on the track right now, is following this close battle.
David got a little bit loose down there in 1 and 2. Did not make any contact with John Wood, but he got a little bit loose, slid up the racetrack. Was able to stay off of John. We see that so many times when the truck on the bottom of the racetrack loses air off the spoiler. We haven't seen it near as much here in this race as we did at some of the other high-speed racetracks.
It's just a big old handful to accomplish, get down on the inside of somebody and complete the pass.
There was just contact between John Wood and David Rudeman. Wendy, what's going on with David?
David Rudeman was not too excited going into the race this morning. As we see, John Wood is off the pace.
He cut a tire. Wendy, as he battled with Rudeman.
Yeah, he's just said it's down, and you can see that it is a flat left front tire.
Coming inside, big row.
He may not be able to make pit road. He's going to have to stop to wait for this whole pack to go by in order to make pit road. It's just going to cost him probably 2 laps by the time he gets on the pit road.
Okay, get in. Come on, coming out pit road, boys. We're going to flash.
We stay green. John Wood makes it down pit road, and our leader comes out of turn number 4, and this will put John Wood a lap down as he goes across the start-finish line.
He'll have to have a good pit stop here, Phil, and get back on the racetrack, not to go 2 down. If he only goes 1 down, he'll have a shot to get back in the race via the free pass. But certainly a costly flat tire for John Wood. He and Rudeman made contact on the front straightaway. That's what cut that tire down.
Yeah, Ted Musgrave is already over in turn number 4. Ray, what's going on?
Well, you see that the left front tire is definitely down on John Wood's number 50. They also changed right side tires, so let's go 4 here. They got to get a bar underneath the truck to get it jacked up, and there is a bit of fire. Looks like a spring rubber. No, there's no spring rubber there, but there was a little bit of fire in the brakes on the left front. So not sure if he's going to have brakes on that truck, as he goes away, but there was a bit of fire there in the left front.
Might have been a wise move right there, Phil, just to get the left side tires, to try to stay just 1 down to make yourself eligible for the free pass. You can see these 2 trucks just get together, boom, cuts that left front tire.
Right at the start-finish line, too, so they really weren't even entering in the corner. You see the left front tire's already down right there.
Bobby Hamilton does a nice job staying off of John, with John having the problem and slowing right in front of Bobby.
And the hits keep coming for John Wood because he came onto pit road past the the commitment line, he has a pass-through penalty from NASCAR.
Yeah, John Wood will end up 3 laps down after it's all said and done. He's already 2 laps down. He will end up 3 laps down after his pass-through penalty.
And he was running in the top 10 when innocent contact on the front straightaway has taken him plumb out of the race.
And right behind those 2 drivers was our points leader, Bobby Hamilton. And so Bobby Hamilton staying away from danger for a few more laps at Phoenix. Ted Musgrave and Jack Sprague have been the 2 trucks that have been out in front today at Phoenix International Raceway. Ted continues to lead. Musgrave in the Mopar Dodge continues to lead at Phoenix. Let's go down to Ray Dunlap and Wendy Norris as we do the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series drop back.
Well, thank you, Rick. Ted Musgrave came in and pitted that first time. All they really did was took a little bit of tape off of the grill on that Mopar Dodge. Ted says the truck is really good in 1 and 2, but not as good coming off 3 and 4. Now, for Jack Sprague, he's driving chassis number 39. This is a truck they used to win earlier this year in Mansfield, and Sprague said on littler tracks, he absolutely loves this truck. Now, for the number 30, Todd Bodine in that Germain Auto Toyota, they actually had to pull over before this race started and tighten some loose lug nuts. They may have been in position like the 99 had they not done so. So he did that before they even took the green. Now let's check in with Wendy on the 75.
David Starr sits fourth, after that round of pit stops on lap 43. He came in for 4 tires and air pressure adjustment. He was a little bit tight, so he went down 1.5 rounds on the right rear. This is also a winning truck for David Starr. This is the same truck he won with at Gateway. What's Johnny Benson up to, Ray?
Well, yesterday, Wendy, in practice, he was talking about how his truck would really snap loose when it came off of the corner. And he talked to his crew chief, Greg Ely, and he said, Greg, I really don't like using a rear bar on these kind of racetracks because that rear bar on my truck is making this thing snap loose. The only problem was they weren't running a rear bar. So the crew chief informed him of that, and he said, well, I guess we got to work on something else. How about Shane Meal?
This is Shane Meal's first truck race at Phoenix. He does have some Busch experience at this track. He feels he needs an air pressure adjustment on the next pit stop to continue to help with the front grip that he needs. Also in the next spot, we have Matt Crafton running 7th. His crew chief, Wally Rogers, did tell me today he is staying with this team when Ron Hornaday takes over this ride next year. Of course, Matt Crafton will be leaving crew chief. Wally Rogers will be staying with this team, so some news there. In 8th place, we have David Brudeman. He was not too excited when this race started. I was telling you earlier in the race. He had never seen this track till he walked into here on Wednesday. He's had a hard day of making those adjustments on the 17 truck. He was a little tight under the throttle, so they made that air pressure adjustment and took a rubber out of the left rear. Ray?
Well, Wendy, Bobby Hamilton really needed some forward bite, so they took a little tape off and went down on the track bar for him. He said that was a good improvement on his Square D Dodge. As you know, Square D will not be back with this team next year, and we also just found out that Dickies will not be back with the other team of Bobby Hamilton, the number 18, and Chad Chapman will also not be driving that next year. Now, there's a big question about who will be driving the 2. We know that next week it'll be Casey Kane, but Wendy, anything about the future?
We're still not sure on the 2 truck. Whether we know Casey Kane will be in it in Darlington, but who will be driving it in 2005, we'll keep you posted. PJ Jones sits in the seat today. Of course, he ran this truck, the 2 truck, in California. He finished 14th that day. He's only raced here at Phoenix in the trucks one other time. The last report we got from him on lap 75, the truck was tight, especially when he was in traffic. Ray?
Well, Wendy, when you look at Ken Schrader's stats, you got to think Phoenix is one of his best places. He's won so many Southwest Tour races. He's good here, but today is his 6th race in that Federated Auto Parts Chevrolet. Schrader has never led a lap on this racetrack in this division. Imagine that. He started 2nd today, and right now he's currently all the way back in 11th. They put air pressure in the right side tires on his last pit stop, but Schrader says so far it really hasn't helped. Wendy?
Our points leader coming into today, Dennis Setzer. He sits 12th right now. I told you at the start of the race how much Dennis Setzer and crew chief Danny Gill hate this tire. This is the same tire that we've ran at 4 other races: IRP, Memphis, Loudon, Milwaukee. They've had trouble at all 4 of those tracks, and they were having trouble again this weekend with this tire. The setup in their truck is a lot like their Memphis truck. As you see, they're going to take whatever they can out of a top 15 finish, they hope.
riding along with Ken Schrader, looking back at the 46 of Dennis Setzer being shown in 12th place. And Dennis Setzer has dropped back 10 points from Bobby Hamilton now. Musgrave has grown. I mean, has eliminated that 91-point deficit to just 43 points now in third.
Todd Bodine was able to get by Jack Sprague for the second position, and he's closed within a second of Ted Musgrave. You see Ted, the yellow truck with the black hood, that's Todd Bodine. There's the top of your screen for a moment. He's about 3/4 of a second behind Ted Musgrave right now.
55 laps remain in Phoenix. If Dodge can hold on and win this, they'll clinch their third manufacturer's title. We'll be back with more from Phoenix. Ted Musgrave just went across the start-finish line, leading his 49th lap. That puts him ahead of Jack Sprague as far as number of laps led, and so that's 5 bonus points if he can continue to lead this race and lead the most laps, which is exactly what Ted Musgrave is looking to do, is get as many points as he can.
But there's a cat in a yellow Toyota that's got other ideas. He's closed that second deficit that Phil talked about earlier to just mere truck links now, and is beginning to put some pressure on Teddy.
But once he got there, he got within about a half a second. His advancement kind of slowed down, and he's kind of stabilized at about 0.6 of a second. If Ted Musgrave can leave about 1 more lap, we're right now on lap 100. There are only 50 laps to go, and Ted Musgrave will lead lap 51 for him when he passes the start-finish line. So if Jack Sprague does not lead this race anymore, then Ted Musgrave will lead the most laps, even if Todd Bodine was to get around him right now and lead the rest of the way. So Ted Musgrave is looking pretty good for those 5 bonus points.
Ray, can Todd Bodine get around him?
Well, they're not really sure, but he believes that the chassis that he's got is the one that they can do it, if any way they can, because this is truck number 49 out of the TRD stables. Now, Todd used this exact same chassis to win in California and Texas. As a matter of fact, they ran all their first races with it until we got to Martinsville. We went to Martinsville, and they ran number 51. I said to Todd, this is a short track. Why didn't you bring 51? He said, because 49's won twice.
But Todd Bodine has before won a race, and then they bring a completely different truck to the next race.
He brought a pretty good one here, it looks like.
He did. I'm kind of confused, though. Do you think Ted just stepped it up a little bit when he saw Todd get there? Because Ted's run a couple of really fast laps the last couple of times by. 28.85 that time, by almost 1/4 of a second faster than the field.
Race for 7th. David Runeman takes the spot away from Matt Crafton. So Runeman moves up to 7th. Crafton drops back to 8th.
Ted's in a situation that he knows he's going to have to make another pit stop. He pitted last on lap number 43, so he knows that he's got to come in again.
And that pit stop might not be too long from now, Phil. We're looking at somewhere around 70 laps, people thinking that they might need to pit. Some of these cats pitted with just over 70 to go. Guys that might have a chance to get to the finish will include Carl Edwards, who hasn't been able to make much of a move through the field. Phil, he's been running in 19th position for the last 10 or 15 laps.
David Runeman making his way up to 7th. Wendy, is he liking that truck?
He sure is. His day has surely changed, and I'm sure his thoughts on Phoenix has changed as well, since he wasn't very comfortable when he walked in the doors here earlier in the week. His truck is good off the exit, but he needs a little help in his center. It's been a little tight for the 17.
See a lot of tape on the windshields of these trucks because they knew that if the sun came out, they would have to be worried about the tape. We see a good shot. There's Kenny Schrader. That's going through the backstretch dog leg right there.
And you don't have any problem going down through here, Phil. You can see just fine. But, man, check Schrader out. He dives into turn 3. He's going to be dealing with the lap truck, the 07 truck we saw in trouble earlier of Sean Murphy. Watch what he deals with when he comes out on this front straightaway.
How do you see?
You can see nothing. And it's just like that, too. That's why these drivers put so much tape down on the bottom of the windshield. It's better now than it used to be because they built more grandstands here. Before, they only had one grandstand in the middle of the front stretch, so you had nothing to block the sun as you went down to turn number 3 or turn number 1. They built some more grandstands. Fortunately, that blocks out a lot of the sun.
Coming up on 5 o'clock in Phoenix, the sun won't set for another half hour, and Ted Musgrave continues to lead the PIR.
Welcome back to the Chevy Silverado 150 at Phoenix International Raceway. You see the 75 of David Starr in for 4 tires. They are putting a rubber in the right rear, so it took a little bit longer on the right-hand side as they continue to go to work. They also raced the track bar 1 round. Let's check in
Musgrave's Mopar Dodge is here. Steve Harani and Keith Plaza doing the tire changes. Just a little bit of a hang up on the right front. Excuse me, left front, but Musgrave will get out with plenty of time here. His biggest problem was getting around the 12 truck of Robert Huffman. He held him in pretty tight, but Musgrave with a great pit stop gets off the pit road first.
And the reason everyone came in for a pit stop is because our fourth caution took place. Problems between Mike Skinner, who you see the work being done on his truck, and the 88 of Tracy Hines.
They're going down in turn number 3. See, Mike Skinner looks to the inside, but Tracy had already committed to drive to the bottom of the racetrack. Mike did all he could do, Michael, to stay off him, but unfortunately, he lost control, got a little bit sideways, made some contact to turn Tracy up into the wall.
Check out how violent this sounds, Phil. Check this out. And watch Chad Chapman come through here. Whoa. They just split right in time for him to shoot through the middle.
Fortunately, Mike Skinner slid down to the bottom of the racetrack, and Chad had a little bit of a hole to go through.
A lot of damage to the number 5 of Mike Skinner. Ted Musgrave continues to lead this field. Todd Bodine, his closest competitor. We'll be back with more from Phoenix. To go, Darlington is going to be a very big key in this championship.
It sure is. It's going to be such a great run under the lights at Darlington. Never in the 50-some year history of Darlington have we run under the lights, so it's going to be a great show.
We're under our 4th caution, and this is why. Sunday night on Fox at 8 p.m. Eastern. It's the season premiere of The Simpsons. Homer's family and friends from Springfield return for another season of laughs only on Fox. The Simpsons season premiere this Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Well, all the pit strategy is out of the window because everyone made their pit stop inside of 50 laps to go, so there'll be no more pit strategy. This race is going to be just a shootout from here on out.
And it's going to be so crazy to see if David Starr is going to be able to stay between the 1 and the 30 and the 16. You know, we haven't seen him with this type of track position all day long. Does he have a fast enough truck to stay in the mix? I still believe that Ted is able to hold the lead. We saw him do it at Richmond amazingly. Hold off Jamie McMurray as they battled to the checker. Ted's been calm and cool behind the wheel when he's been in this position before. He's sitting in the driver's seat, obviously, in a fast truck. Can he bring it home?
But remember, Jamie McMurray was his teammate. Jamie thought he had a better truck and looked like he was going to make the pass on the outside, and the caution came out. Right now, David Starr, Todd Bodine, they're not Ted Musgrave's crew chief. They're not his teammates.
That either. And you can see also back into the top 5, Steve Park. He fell back on his pit stop. Now he's raced up to the top 5. Can he mount a charge to get to the front before the race is over?
And right in front of him, our early leader and pole sitter, Jack Sprague, who led almost 50 laps of this race.
Double file restart, 34 laps to go. Randy Kaiser will take the pace truck down pit road. Ted Musgrave again leads this field to the restart. This will be the 5th time we have seen the green flag fly today. And Musgrave takes it for the Chevy Silverado 150 at lap 118.
He always gets a great start, doesn't he, Phil? We saw that. We see that every week. Look at there, just driving off from him.
David Starr not quite able to clear the lap truck of Bill Lester. It's going to allow Ted to open up a several truck length lead. Bill Lester's going to race the 75 into the corner. David finally clears him. Now Todd Bodine is faced with trying to clear Bill Lester.
And Bill Lester moving way high on the track, almost taking Todd Bodine into the wall, and they make contact going through 3 and 4.
One of those deals. Todd says, get out of my way. You're a lap down. I've got to go chase down Ted Musgrave.
That's a lot of valuable distance already that Todd has given up. You know, he might beat 10 or 2 a lap, but we see Ted sometimes beat him a 10th or 2. That is just a huge amount of ground to make up in a short period of time.
Now Jack Sprague has won 3 races here at Phoenix. If he wins today, he wins $28,000 for his team because of the Craftsman win from the pole award. And currently he's being shown in 4th.
Remember, all these trucks were on pit road a few moments ago. They made some adjustments. They had 100 laps to tell their crew chiefs what their trucks were doing, so they made the adjustments. Who's made the right adjustments?
Ted Musgrave hoping that their team has made the proper adjustments, if adjustments were even made on that truck. It's been run so well.
Check this out. This is a battle for position on the racetrack and a battle for the point lead. Setzer just ahead of Bobby Hamilton. Those trucks were almost side by side exiting turn 2. They're really battling hard amongst each other right now.
Ray, what's happening with Bobby?
Well, Rick, they lost a couple of positions here on pit road, not because the crew guys made a mistake, but they got blocked in by Kenny Schrader, who has the pit stall right in front of him. Hamilton came in running 9th, but went out 11th. Now, they did drop air pressure a little bit on the right sides for that square D Dodge, but Hamilton was not very happy about having to back up and leave pit road, losing a couple of spots. That put him behind Dennis Setzer, and now Hamilton needs to go to work to try to gain that position back.
Ray, which means that Dennis Setzer, if the race ended right now, would be back in the point lead. He would have a 5-point lead on Bobby Hamilton.
Wendy?
Dennis Setzer also pit on lap 110. Just an air pressure adjustment on the 46 truck. He was a little loose on this run, but he says it's a lot better now.
Problems with the 1 of Ted Musgrave. He slows as he goes through 1 and 2.
Right front ready, boys.
Yeah, it looked like a right front flat as he went into turn 1.
There goes Jack Sprague by him. Todd Woodine and David Starr also have gotten by. So David Starr takes over the lead at Phoenix, and we slow down. You see the sparks coming out. Ray, what's going on with the 1?
Right front tire is flat for Ted Musgrave, guys. Just unbelievable. They had this thing really wound up, and Musgrave said it just started shaking real bad. You can see it's the right front. They'll head to pit road and lose at least 2 laps here.
What a horrible break for Ted Musgrave. This may very well take him completely out of this championship hunt for the year with this bad break of a flat tire.
Oh, we got a crash.
And 2 big problems. Terry Cook and Ken Weaver getting into each other.
Musgrave is going one through his pit, Bill. He did not stop. He's going to stay on the lead lap, but you can see the sparks coming out from underneath the truck. That's grinding on the sway bar arm. He could do more damage by staying on the track here and not losing a lap than he would have been able to do if he had just stopped and got a tire.
Michael, he's probably said, hey, the only shot we have at salvaging our championship hopes are staying on the lead lap. We've got to take a chance at tearing the bodywork and the sway bar arm off this truck to stay on the lead lap. Now that he can get caught it back up, come in and get that flat tire off there, he can stay on the lead lap, he gets salvaged maybe a decent finish. If he goes 2 laps down, he's history.
Well, that's assuming that he doesn't break the sway bar arm right now, which he would be history as well. I like what you're saying, though. Let's roll the dice here. Do you realize how crazy racing is? 1 lap ago, that man was within 30 points of leading the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series points, and now he's battling for his life in this points battle.
Look at the tire coming off of that, Ray.
Guys, keep in mind, he was about 6 feet away from his pit stall and already on the brakes here whenever the caution came out. So timing can be everything as it is. Now, they'll pit this time no matter what, even though they have to go to tail end of the longest line. They got to get a right front on there, as Michael said. They don't want to tear that fender off there. So the guys will go to work for him right here. As he gets to the pit stop, Steve Haraney is the front tire changer and Keith Plaza. They go to the other side. They said, what about right side tires? He said, let's do them both now that we're under yellow. They'll get just rights on it only, but they're going to lose a lap anyway. Here come the leaders. They go past, and Musgrave will indeed lose a lap.
The pace truck gets by Ted Musgrave, and so Ted Musgrave.
Now, there's a chance, Phil, that if Ted had stopped and made his pit stop when he was near his pit when the green flag was out and then got lapped and left the pit quick enough, he could have got the free pass. He wasn't the cause of the caution. The caution was over off turn 2. He might have been just behind the leader and gotten the free pass had he have just changed his tire when he came in the pits the first time.
Yeah, there was a situation where he rolled the dice and unfortunately didn't work. It was a great plan. Let's see if we can take a look at what happened with this accident.
Outside.
Travis Quapple's on the inside. He makes contact with Ken Weaver. Ken spins around right in front of the race, right in front of Robert Huffman. Robert makes contact.
Brandon Witt hits him.
Terry Cook on the outside.
Nice job
gets
by
through
Terry
there.
Cook.
Scott Lynch spins on the bottom of the racetrack. Deborah Renshaw spins on the right of your screen. You see the contact right there. Pretty hard contact. Robert Huffman hits the wall pretty hard too. You could hear that.
Let's ride along with the Federated Auto Parts 52 of Ken Schrader.
Stay down. Those speed now they're spinning. Caution will be out. Caution's out. Well, nice job, bud.
Now Robert Huffman just going to get a surprise of his life here.
Right here. No caution. Watch out. We should get the free pass, Eddie. We should.
The watch out happened about a millisecond
Well, there was nothing Robert Huffman could do. That 08 truck just spun right down the hill in front of him, right in his lap. Nowhere to go.
It looked like he might have, if he could have stayed up against the wall, but unfortunately when the truck turned around, it shot down the bottom of the racetrack and caught Robert Huffman. There you see Robert getting out. Obviously he's okay. What a tough break for Robert Huffman. That team's gotten better and better and better as the season's worn on, but unfortunately it's going to be a short end today.
And just think, Phil, the one truck of Ted Musgrave, his problems will continue because he has to start at the tail end of the longest line for pitting too soon. He pitted too soon when that caution came out, and so he will have no shot at getting the free pass on his first restart at least.
Fifth caution comes out. The 08, the 12, the 10, and the 38 all involved on lap 124. Take a look at this problem in turn 2.
Ground he left behind, was running down in the 19th spot, up to 12th now. Wendy, what's going on in the pit?
David Starr, the best he's ever finished at Phoenix is 6th, so he sits the leader. He's in a good spot when the green flag drops. Of course, crew chief Dave McCarty was telling him just to be smooth. He needs to keep hammering. He says, show me how bad you want it. His spotter today, NASCAR veteran Truck Series driver Bill Sedgwick, is the eyes of David Starr today. Another interesting story that just happened here in the 75 pit. A crew member from the 6th truck of Matt Crafton's truck, Danny Kincaid, came down here and said, hey, if Crafton gets up to Starr and takes him out, tell him we're sorry. And he's referring back to an incident earlier in the season when Matt Crafton and David Starr got together in Richmond.
Ooh, you're not supposed to do that.
No, they're not.
This is our 5th caution of the day, and the reason being, let's take a listen to this most recent one.
You can see the safer barriers there on that outside retaining wall.
You know, watch out.
We apologize for that radio communications that came over there. We do not condone the use of obscenities. In the heat of the battle, it's very difficult. And obviously the spotter trying to warn his driver of a problem, but just no time, as you had mentioned earlier, Michael.
Ted Musgrave is dropping to the back of the field for this restart. There's only 20 laps to go, Phil. He pitted too soon under that last caution.
This is really going to hurt him for hoping to get the free pass on the next caution block, if there is one. But inside of 20 laps to go, this is probably the most important restart for David Starr in this entire race.
Todd Bodine right behind him. Todd Bodine has had a very strong truck all day. Now David Starr will try to hold off Todd Bodine for the final 19 laps of this race.
He's going to have his work cut out for him if he's able to hold off Todd Bodine. Todd Bodine and Jack McCragg have both been very fast today, and they're lined up right on Starr's back tailgate.
Got Matt Crafton, the 6th truck in 4th. Shane Meal, who's also had a great truck today, in 5th.
Very good run for Matt Crafton, we had mentioned before this year. Hadn't finished in the top 5 and looking to claim another top 5 finish in that Goodwrench Chevrolet.
He's got Shane Meal all over him. Great battles up in the top 5 here as we race toward the checker.
Wendy, what's happening with Matt Crafton?
Well, Matt Crafton actually has 2 guys helping him on the pit box today. Of course, truck owner Kevin Harvick is here, and he's been helping Matt with his lines. Matt was having a hard time with his truck being real tight off. Harvick came over to the radio and said the only way to fix it is to run a different line. You keep hitting the same lines. Chad Chaffin is in the wall.
Big hit for the 18 of Chad Chaffin. That Dickies Dodge came and hit the inside wall very hard coming off of turn 4.
They were racing 3 wide, Rick, as they exited turn 4, and Chad Chaffin wound up with the short end of that stick. They got together. He shot down in the inside wall.
Shortened that truck up quite a bit.
Yeah, a lot of damage to the front of that truck. Left rear tire not even turning right now. See if we can take a look at what happened. As you mentioned, Michael, they were racing right in front of them. You see the 24 Travis Quabbel makes some contact. Chad turns to the inside as Terry Cook went to the inside of John Wood. Unfortunately, as you mentioned, had nowhere to go, just made a little bit of contact, just turned him straight into the inside wall. This racetrack's only about 50 feet wide on the front stretch, and he had so little room to try to save that truck. Ray.
Hey guys, I had said earlier that Chad will not be driving this 18 next year. We did confirm that earlier today. That does not necessarily mean that he won't have something to do with Bobby Hamilton Racing, but Chase Montgomery will take over the reins of the number 18 next year. And as I told you, Dickies will not be back on this truck. They are very close to signing sponsorship for it, but a driver change here as we get close to the end of the year. So Chad Chaffin, not quite sure what he's going to do. He has 3 different options here in the Craftsman Truck Series. Again, one of those may still be with Bobby Hamilton Racing.
Problems with the Dickies Dodge, bringing out our 6th caution of the day at Phoenix International Raceway. We'll be back with the finish. Go down to Ray Dunlap on pit road.
Well, thanks, Rick. Chris Showalter, I've been listening to Jack Sprague on the radio, and I'm not quite sure how to describe this because he's in 3rd. I would think that's good, but what he said was the truck's a mess. What's that mean?
It takes us about 4 or 5 laps to get going, and our Chevy truck Silverado just don't get going. So hopefully we can get going here with about 10 laps to go, and maybe we can give him a shot for the win here at the end.
Okay, let's find out who Wendy's caught up with.
I'm with Dave McCarty, our leaders, crew chief. What is David saying on that first restart that you just got a chance at? It didn't really look like David Starr pulled away from Todd Bodine. Todd Bodine looks like he's a little tight off. What are you telling David on this next restart?
Well, we're just telling David to be really careful on his starts and get him a good restart. We feel like we got a better truck than Todd, and he just needs to concentrate on his lap times. But, man, Spear Chevrolet's been pretty good. We were a little tight there earlier, and I think we got her dialed in. And, man, how about that pit crew? Got us out there where we needed to be, and hopefully we can pull this thing off.
We'll see who the toughest competition is for the 75, whether it's going to be Todd Bodine, Jack Sprague, or Matt Crafton looking to blow off some steam on David Starr.
Well, we'll find out what Todd Bodine's situation is. His crew chief is Mike Hillman. What's he saying about this truck? Is he good enough to get past Starr?
You know, we're a little bit tight here when it goes back. Got pretty cool out. The suns went down. We're really good on the long runs, you know, but Toyota Tundra's pretty tough, and the man behind the wheel, he's awful hungry, so hopefully he can take that thing to victory lane. If not, you know, David Starr's run real good today, so we'll just see what we can do.
All right, Mike took a little trip to Vegas yesterday. He wasn't so lucky there, so maybe their luck will change here at Phoenix.
Todd Bodine looking to claim his 3rd victory in the Craftsman Truck Series, and 2 of those have come as of late.
It's hard to win in Vegas. That's how they build all those big, pretty hotels.
That's right.
Well, they've sure won in the Truck Series, Todd Bodine and Mike Hellman. 2 of the last 3 races.
Ray mentioned earlier the sun was officially setting just after 5:30, and we're coming up on 5:30 in Phoenix. So the sun has gone down behind some of the foothills and mountains here in the desert. This is the view from inside of a truck as they come out of turn number 4.
Should be looking at 1 to go here. We'll have about a 10-lap dash to the checker. Can David Starr hold off Todd Bodine? It's going to be a day's work to do it. He looked really good on that last restart, though, Phil.
Sure did. But there's enough light right now, Michael. That's really pretty good. You can see that's the view David Starr has. He has no problem distinguishing the inside of the racetrack, the apron of the racetrack, and the outside wall. So, and we're only about 10 laps to go, so they should have plenty enough daylight to finish this thing, unless we extend this thing maybe a few minutes with this green-white checker, which always can happen.
Well, and you know, it's a lot better now than it was 30, 45 minutes ago with that sun glaring on you coming down the front straightaway. So actually, conditions are perfect to finish this race.
Now, with the sun going down a little bit, this track, the wall used to be red and white. And Michael, you've been out there today. Now that they've painted the wall, the outside wall, that blue color, does that take away the marks that you maybe had put in your mind as coming to this track before?
No, it's concrete, so you pretty much put in your mind where it's at. You know,
and not to hit it.
You know, to stay away from it. There isn't any visual problems here at Phoenix. You can see really well, lots of room to race. The only problem you have is when that sun glares on the front straightaway. That's gone now, so these guys can just concentrate on their trucks. Todd's going to be aggressive on this start, try to make something happen. I guarantee you that. And David's just going to try to be smooth and drive away from him.
With 10 laps to go, David Starr will come to the green flag. It flies, and we're back underway.
Tide's all over. Looks to the inside. David Starr drives it down in turn number 1.
Kind of messed up Todd's angle for the entry into the corner, too, by diving down. Lost 4 or 5 truck lengths, and is going to get a battle from Jack Sprague down to the inside.
Something's wrong with the 30. Unbelievable.
Ray?
Right front flat.
He definitely has a flat tire. Todd's been on the radio saying it may be a loose tire. He said, no, it's a flat. Guys, we got a flat. So he goes from second all the way to the mid-pack.
I believe it's a left rear field. Looks like the left rear tire's gone flat on Todd's truck.
Yeah, he's not going to be able to make it to pit road here, so Todd is really crippled. Now that takes him completely out of contention for this race.
And that brings the $28,000 from the Craftsman win from the pole award right back into contention for Jack Sprague, because now he's in second behind David Starr. Jack Sprague looking to win his 4th race at Phoenix in a truck.
Remember, he won 3 in a row here back in the late 90s. Jack knows how to win at this racetrack.
Another great run for Matt Crafton. He's running 3rd.
If he could stay there, that would equal his career best of 3rd set earlier this year.
David Rudiman with a flat tire as well off turn 2.
What do you think it is, Michael? Just a little bit of debris on the racetrack? Because we've seen so many flat tires. First 10 Musgrave. Then we saw that happen to Top Out. Now David Rudiman with a flat left rear tire.
I do not understand, Phil. There's no reason this should be happening unless they're running over something. Could be coincidental, but that's 3 flat tires. We don't ever see anything like this.
Out in front, David Starr trying to hold off veteran Jack Sprague, 3-time series champion, looking to claim his 4th win at Phoenix International Raceway. David Starr looking to claim his 3rd career win.
This past lap, Jack Sprague was the fastest truck on the racetrack, and continuing to do so, faster that time than David Starr as well. Jack's turning the heat up and closing in on Starr.
He's just under 1/10 of a second faster, but he's going to have to pass him. Getting to him is one thing, passing him is another.
That's a couple of Chevy Silverados battling for the lead in the Chevy Silverado 150. Couldn't get much better than that from our friends with the bow ties on.
Well, don't you know Jack Sprague would love to get that win from the pole zone. It's the largest in the history of the series by Craftsman.
$28,000.
Just a few hundredths of a second faster than again, and you can see it visually. He's closing the gap. 5 to go, and he is there. Can he make something happen?
Jack Sprague has led more laps on this track in a truck than any other driver. Over 500 more laps than any other driver. He would love to lead the last lap around this track.
Listen to the audio as he gets back into gas here. Able to get in it pretty smooth and pretty strong.
Sure
we heard him kind of burping the gas as he got into it off turn 4, but that sounded like a real good corner for Starr, and he was able to drive away a little bit from Sprague.
He was the fastest truck on the racetrack that last lap. There you see him playing with the throttle a little bit down there in 3 and 4, but Jack doesn't appear to be able to gain anything.
As they go across the start-finish line, we look at the speeds at the line, and that time Jack Sprague just a bit faster than David Starr.
Man, when you got a truck, though, feel like David has right there, he can get it aimed to the bottom. He's dead on the bottom and then just working the gas, exiting the corner. That's a good feeling. It'll be hard to pass him with the way that truck's working right now.
It's going to be awfully hard for Jack Sprague to drive around the outside of David Starr. As you mentioned, if he can get underneath him, he's got a shot. Ray, what's going on with Jack Sprague?
Well, Phil, I just wanted to give you a quick stat on him. He has finished second in his career 29 different times. Where did he finish at Phoenix in his last 3 races? Second, all 3 times.
David Starr again fastest, that time by coming up on 1 lap to go. This is a great battle for 5th. Steve Park just in front of Johnny Benson. Benson looking to have another top 5 finish.
How surprising is that? He finishes in the top 5 about every week in that Toyota.
Sure does. Done a great job every time he got in. Last lap, David Starr leads.
White flag flies for David Starr, looking to claim his 3rd career NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series win. Side-by-side racing now for 5th.
Johnny's up under Park. Can't finish the deal. Those guys will battle back to the checker. David Starr right down on the bottom of the racetrack.
Coming out of turn number 4, Jack Sprague won't have enough time to catch him as David Starr comes across the start-finish line. It's win number 3 in the Chevy Silverado 150.
Johnny able to get by Steve Park. Was able to take over the 5th position. Good top 5 for Johnny Benson, but a good run for Steve Park also in 6th. But what a great job by David Starr, Dave McCarty, that entire Spears manufacturing team. You can see David, he's pretty pumped up.
Second win of the season for David Starr. Wendy?
Dave McCarty made all the right calls from the pit box today. Wayne Spears says the last 10 laps you got him, it was going to be easy. It didn't seem so easy for you.
No, it wasn't easy, but David drove his heart out. I mean, he's been trying hard, and it was one of them times when I'm glad we finally put it in place and won one. We kind of put a punctuation mark on the last win, so it feels good. It really feels good.
Dave McCarty excited about his second win for the season.
Now we have a new point leader too, Rick.
Bobby Hamilton reclaims the top spot over Dennis Setzer in the points race. David Starr, with this finish, jumped from 8th to 6th in the points, and so David Starr wanting to jump into the top 5 in the Truck Series point standings.
What a heartbreak for Ted Musgrave, though. It looked like he may be able to gain up to about 30, 40 points behind after this race if he could have hung on and won this thing. But unfortunately, with his flat tire, he's going to end up with a 19th place finish and drop to 120 points behind.
Chevy congratulates David Starr and the Chevy Silverado on today's big win. No truck has dominated the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series like the Chevy Silverado. Chevy, the winningest name in racing, an American revolution. Channel's coverage of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series post-race show is presented by Craftsman. Let's go down to Gatorade Victory Lane and Wendy Norris.
David Starr is unbuckling himself out of the truck as he just pulled into victory lane. This is his second win of the season. The first came earlier at Gateway with the same exact truck. His third career victory for David Starr as he climbs on top of his Spears Manufacturing Chevrolet. His team congratulating him. Wayne Spears told him with 10 laps to go that it was going to be an easy race to win. I'm sure it wasn't so easy for David Starr. David, as he gets congratulated by his crew chief, Dave McCarty, the two of them celebrating in victory lane for their second win this season. David, that first restart with Todd Bodine, how worried were you about these trucks?
I was worried. They kept telling me, get a good restart, get a good restart. My restarts aren't very good, and I tell you what, Dave McCarty, all my guys are awesome. Wayne and Connie Spears, thanks for the opportunity. This Chevrolet Silverado was awesome, man. It was a right truck today, and I'm glad I drive it, and what an awesome race.
Now, you had a different spotter today. Bill Sedgwick was on top spotting for you. I heard him an awful lot on the radio, more so than I usually hear from your spotter. How was he coaching you any differently?
Well, he just, you know, coaching me, making sure like a cheerleader, making sure I wasn't messing up, overdriving the corners. And we were looking for a different groove down there in 1 and 2. But I tell you what, I'm so glad to be in victory lane. Yeah! God, it feels so good. But he did a heck of a job. And I tell you what, these guys right here, they're the team. I'm just the lucky one gets to drive it.
I know you're the lucky one driving it for the rest of the season, but what about 2005? What are your plans right now?
Well, right now we have 2 more races left. We want to win another race, and this feels so good. And we're trying to get in the top 5 in points, but hopefully Wayne and Connie Spears let me drive the Spears Chevrolet Silverado again next year, so we'll see.
David Starr's digging into that top 5 in points. He was 8th coming in. We'll see how much he took a dip in that points championship as his team pours Gatorade all over him. Ray?
Well, Wendy, Bobby Hamilton finishes 2 places ahead of Dennis Setzer, so that's good news. But today, that was kind of up and down for your overall day at Phoenix.
We overheated. It's a weird deal. We've had that happen a couple times. Seems like when we're always out west, we practice and really work on our tape configuration. But the thing just overheated all day, and I had to sit back there and take care of it. Then we got a lot of tape off of it. Then it made the balance, made it lose the nose a little bit. So I just tried to ride and save my tires again and have something the last few laps.
You were talking about needing a little forward bite after that first pit stop, too. Did it improve?
Yeah, they fixed that completely. But what happened after they done that right, they took the tape off, then I had too much forward bite, so it was pushing the nose. So if I could have kept the tape on, I'd have been pretty good. But like I said, they done all they could do. We had lug nuts fall off one time, wasn't their fault. Then I got blocked in one time, so it was just these championship deals always go right down to the wire like this. And when you have somebody, a fierce competitor like Dennis, that's breathing down your neck all the time, you just start hearing stuff, and lug nuts fall off, and people block you in. It just goes on and on. So you just got to stay patient.
All right. Well, he gained the point lead back by 7 points, and as I said earlier, we're off to Darlington and then Homestead, a place where he's won at both tracks.
He's really good at Darlington, too.
That's correct, Michael.
Bobby Hamilton is.
Bobby Hamilton leads the points race by 7 over Dennis Setzer. Ted Musgrave drops 29 points to 120 back. We'll be back with more from Phoenix. Right in Gatorade Victory Lane. Owners Wayne and Connie Spears beside him. Unofficial results, Starr claiming his 3rd career win, 2nd of the season. Jack Sprague, that is his 4th straight 2nd place finish at this track.
Matt Crafton ties his career best of 3rd. Great run for him. And Shane Meal, another top 5. And Johnny Benson, no big surprise, top 5 for him.
Good run for Steve Park. Point leader Bobby Hamilton, the top 10 finish. That's really good for him. Hornaday driving the 47 teammate truck to Setzer. Only 13th. A little bit surprised with that field.
Yeah, I really thought he would be one of the trucks to contend with. A good top 5 run, but wasn't to be today.
Ruderman had a flat tire late.
Chad Chaffin made hard contact with the inside wall.
Standing by with our 2nd place finisher, Jack Sprague, is Ray Dunlap.
Well, Rick, I reminded him of that stat about all these 2nd place finishes, and he reminded me that he won 3 in a row here. So what was the difference today? What would you have done differently to try to win this race?
Oh, the truck was awesome at the end. We just started out a little loose, and that didn't really hurt us too bad. I mean, Ted was the class of the field. There was nobody going to beat him, period. And when he broke, I felt like Todd and myself were. And he wasn't that good on his last set of tires, and he ended up cutting one. But, you know, the Chevy truck Silverado was solid all week. Sit on the pole, ran 2nd. Just really wanted to win this race. I had my buddy Ricky riding with me, and it's a tough deal. I mean, didn't get the long greens I needed. Didn't get out of the pits where I needed to. I mean, my guys did a great job. It's just Davis did better in this aspect. He come in 4th, went out 2nd. I came in 3rd, went out 4th. And as the cautions fell late in the race, rapidly like that, it won on the race. And, you know, it's a good day for us, but I really wanted to win this race.
And he was talking about Ricky Hendrick. He had a photo of he and Ricky sitting on pit wall riding along in the 16. Wendy?
Matt Crafton comes home 3rd, ties his best career finish. You also finished 3rd in Bristol. Your truck really looked dialed in tonight.
Actually, I think we missed it a little bit. We weren't real happy with the truck, but I mean, this pit crew is the one that made this truck finish 3rd. And we had a really good truck on the 1st run. 2nd run, we had a horrendous set of tires. I mean, the thing would not go, and we fell back pretty good. This last set of tires was better, but I think we needed just a few laps to maybe get it going.
Looked like Wally Rogers worked on it all night long. I asked Matt Crafton about his plans for next year, and he said, I hope I have a steering wheel in my hand.
Bobby Hamilton got the point lead back, Michael and Rick, and he's so good at Darlington. He's won twice. The 2 times he's been there in a truck, both times winner circle.
And the race last fall at Homestead was one of the coolest races ever. That championship battle as they raced for the victory. And when the champion pulled up on pit road, Quapple sat there and he didn't know whether he was a champion or not. That kind of tells you what Craftsman Truck Series racing is all about.
Unfortunate day for the number 1 of Ted Musgrave, the class of the field, but it was not to be for him today, as many other drivers saw problems, but not for David Starr, who claimed his 3rd career victory today in Phoenix. Congratulations for the Silverado 150.